Indiana Business is on the road this week, coming to you from Greater Lafayette, the Wabash Heartland region, known for two great cities and one great university. We'll start the conversation with the governor turned university president, who's wasted no time in getting down to business, whether it's education or the economy. Plus, almost 30 years ago, Subaru of Indiana Automotive rolled out its first vehicle in Lafayette. Today, the sprawling plant relies on people and robots to produce hundreds of thousands of units annually. And 3 years ago, the $100 million GE Aviation Lafayette engine facility opened for business, part of Indiana's growing aviation and aerospace profile. A new plant leader is in place to ramp up production and increase headcount. Details on those stories and much more ahead on this special Greater Lafayette Town Hall edition of Inside Indiana Business.
Stand by for top of show with music full. Stand by D1 Sound, sponsored open with music. Stand by camera 3 with Gary. We're out in 5, 4, 3, 2, dissolve, cue Gary.
Hello and welcome to this special edition of Inside Indiana Business. I'm Gary Dick, coming to you from the Purdue Rail Yard inside the Purdue Technology Center, all part of the Purdue Research Park, the largest university-affiliated park in the entire country. For the next hour, our Greater Lafayette Town Hall, powered by Pacer Sports and Entertainment, will explore the state of business and innovation here, from the largest academic institution to the manufacturing powerhouses, to the innovators who continue to emerge here. Well, Mitch Daniels once said a university should perform more businesslike in much of what it does. And with that business mindset, he has executed on a number of innovative initiatives, including freezing tuition costs, which began in 2013, acquiring online Kaplan University and rebranding it to Purdue Global, and another affordability play, creation of the backup boiler program. But what could be his boldest move yet is the more than $1 billion Discovery Park District project. It's a partnership between Purdue and the city of West Lafayette, which many feel will be transformational for the region and the state. And for more on those efforts and what might be next at this nearly 150-year-old institution, I'm pleased to welcome to the show President Mitch Daniels. And President Daniels, it's always great to see you.
Welcome to Purdue, Gary.
All right. Well, hey, lots going on here to be sure. And I mentioned the Discovery Park project. More than $1 billion. Where did this idea, we'll talk about the specifics, but where did the idea hatch?
The idea, the concept is not necessarily original. There are 2 or 3 of these so-called innovation districts around the country. The notion is around a research university, it ought to be possible to attract people to live and businesses to employ people. That's not that hard in a major urban area. What no one has done up to this point is construct one in a smaller community like West Lafayette. But we think, given the research prowess of Purdue, the many strong ties we already have and have for a long time had with businesses and important corporations, that we can pull it off.
And it is happening. It's beginning to happen. Schweitzer Engineering Labs, I think, recently announced here 300 jobs initially. Is that an example of what could happen in this district?
It's exactly the example that we've hoped for. Rolls-Royce beat them here a little bit, but that's a smaller facility mainly devoted to research. I've said from the beginning that the trigger, the catalyst to make this whole thing happen would be that first big investment by someone who's going to hire, in this case, 300 engineers and high-tech people, hope many of them Boilermakers, and begin to create the population that will buy the housing or rent the housing and be a bike ride or even a walk away from a high-tech job. Of course, now that we have that first big investment, I've changed my tune. Now the second one's the one that matters. Right. You know how that works.
Yeah.
But we're off to a good start.
How important is that, in your view, to the university's mission to engage with communities and engage in economic development?
I think it's central. In today's economy, the information, high-tech economy, Purdue University is training the most valuable and necessary workers of tomorrow. We're doing the research that is giving rise to new technologies that will make, we hope, the economy even stronger. And we're creating businesses. Right here where we're sitting, you're sort of in the cockpit of what has become one of the great generators. No college in the country has given birth to more startup businesses than Purdue the last 3 or 4 years.
Your acquisition of Kaplan University, the online institution, raised a lot of eyebrows, seeing a lot of ads nationally for Purdue Global. How do you see that playing out?
There are twice as many Americans out there, and Hoosiers, by the way, who started college and didn't finish. I'm not talking about people who stopped at high school or dropped out. People who spent some money, probably borrowed some money, and didn't finish. There are twice as many of them as all the 18 to 24-year-olds on all the campuses in America. They deserve a better chance in life that a credential or a diploma of some kind will give them. And the economy needs them to be better trained and prepared and able to move up. So we think, from a higher ed standpoint, Purdue was put here to open the doors of higher education to the middle class of its time back in the 1870s. These days, we can't fulfill that mission if we don't reach out to these 35 to 40 million working adults.
Where do you see Purdue University, 20 years from now, coming back to the campus here in West Lafayette? What kind of environment, what kind of vibe do you expect to see here?
I hope you'll see a series of Schweitzer engineering laboratories of all kinds, major businesses who have come to Indiana specifically because they can access not only the great Indiana business climate, but the special advantages I mentioned for here at being adjacent to the premier R1 Research One University we have. And that there will be residences full of the people who work in those businesses, as well as our faculty, right here on the campus. If you like, just a cooler place. We need that to attract the best students, the best faculty, and I think in our partnership with the city of West Lafayette, again, we don't know of another one like it in the country. 50-50 partnership, $100+ million of infrastructure to make all this work. We think we're going to create the next great Hoosier community. West Lafayette, or Lafayette's already the second fastest growing economy next to Indy Metro, and we think the sky's the limit.
Lots going on at Purdue University. Purdue President Mitch Daniels, as always, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right. Well, coming up, Subaru of Indiana Automotive on track to produce nearly 380,000 vehicles this year. Since the plant opened some 30 years ago, it has rolled out more than 5 million vehicles. Senior Executive VP Tom Easterday joins us to explain what's fueling the growth. Well, manufacturing is big business in Greater Lafayette. Founded in 1985, Wabash National Corporation is North America's leading producer of semi-trailers and liquid transportation systems. And more than 90 years ago, Illinois-based Caterpillar opened its doors in Lafayette. CAT is the world's leading manufacturer of construction and mining equipment, diesel and natural gas engines, industrial gas turbines, and diesel-electric locomotives. Well, the only Subaru plant outside of Japan is located in Lafayette. 29 years ago, the first Legacy rolled off the line of what was Subaru Isuzu Automotive. Today, Subaru of Indiana Automotive employs more than 5,600 workers and is home to 3 other models, the Outback, the Impreza, and Ascent. In the past 5 years, SIA has added 2,000 plus jobs and invested some $1.4 billion to expand capacity. Senior Executive Vice President Tom Easterday has been with SIA since day one. He'll be hanging up his coat in a couple of months, retiring, but he's here now to talk about the company's impact on Lafayette, the greater Lafayette area, and the state of Indiana. Tom, as always, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Gary.
I mentioned those numbers, up over 5,000, 5,600 employees at the plant. Talk about your production levels.
Absolutely. This year we're going to build over 380,000 units, and with a full year of Ascent production next year, that'll go over 400,000. And we've got over 40 suppliers in the state of Indiana, so they're all ramping up production too.
And that, I think, is a point that can't be overemphasized. There is a supplier network that really, when we talk about economic impact, extends throughout the state.
Absolutely. The Center for Automotive Research said that we have an economic multiplier of 11.4. So for every 1 job we create at Subaru of Indiana Automotive, we create 11.4 jobs in Indiana's economy. Very high economic multiplier.
And it seems like you can't build vehicles fast enough.
We have great associates, and they build a lot of quality into our vehicles, and they're working a lot of overtime right now. And that's because in the month of August, Subaru set an all-time record for sales. And our market share for Subaru in the last 10 years has gone from 1.2% to 4.3%.
Wow.
So with that, our production volume has continued to go up.
Getting new models, new work, very important over the years to growing things here. And I know some of the big news here was the production of the Ascent.
Yes, we began Ascent production on May 7th, and it's the biggest Subaru ever built. It's got a 260 horsepower turbocharged engine. It can seat up to 8 passengers. If you have captain's chairs, it seats 7. It's got 19 cup holders, and it could have as many as 8 USB ports. Plus, it's got all the great safety features that are on Subarus, like the eyesight collision avoidance system.
Obviously, demand is driving the investment, the workforce, yes, all those types of things. But this is a testament to these numbers, to the workforce here in the greater Lafayette area.
Oh, absolutely it is. And Indiana has been known for manufacturing for a long time. You go all the way back to Elwood Haynes and the creation of the Apperson Company to make gasoline-powered cars. And, you know, Indiana's the most intensive state for manufacturing in the country, and because of that, there's not only that great heritage, but also a great desire to do well in manufacturing. And training programs, particularly working with state government on some of the training programs of the last few years, have really done well for manufacturers in Indiana and for SIA.
What's going to be key to those growth opportunities?
Well, I think number one, we've got to bring more people into the state of Indiana. Number two, we've got to keep those talented people that we have, and I think there are programs both on the state level and locally here to try and accomplish that. One thing that we've been trying to do and we've been working with the state on is bringing people that are leaving the military and bringing them here to work. We know that they know the work ethic, and certainly they're going to do a good job for us, and they have done a great job for us.
Final question for you. You are calling it quits. You're going to retire after being here at day one, some 30
Yes.
years on the job. What's next for Tom Easterday?
Well, I'm a lifelong Hoosier, so I'll stay in the state of Indiana, spend more time with the family, obviously, but also devote a lot of time to nonprofit organizations. I work, I've been a Special Olympics coach for over 20 years, continue to do that. Also work with IU Health on their board, and certainly work with the Boy Scouts. I'm very active in that too. So that and maybe some other nonprofit work. Glad
you're staying here. You've had a tremendous impact not only in the company but the community as well.
Thank
Tom
you very
Easterday,
much, Gary.
thanks very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Well, next, it was just 3 years ago that GE's first ever jet engine assembly plant in Indiana opened its doors. The new leader of the plant is here to talk about increasing employment and production. Well, aluminum is big business in the greater Lafayette region. Arconic is at the forefront of manufacturing aluminum lithium alloys to make aircrafts more efficient and lighter as well. Meantime, Nanshan America Advanced Aluminum Technologies opened for business in 2012. The state-of-the-art facility specializes in aluminum casting and extrusion and can cast up to 400 million pounds annually. Well, 3 years ago, the much-hyped $100 million GE Aviation Lafayette engine facility started pumping out LEAP jet engines, which are used in commercial aircraft. The plant is in growth mode with plans to increase the headcount to 200 by the end of the year and eventually produce some 30 engines per week. The man charged with meeting those ambitious goals is the new plant leader, Renato Vidal, who's been on the job for 1 month now. And Renato, we're pleased to have you join us here at Purdue University for a special program.
Thank you, Gary.
Welcome to Indiana.
Thank you.
You come directly from GE operation in South America.
Yes. I came from the South America operations from GE Aviation for the maintenance side. I have been with GE for 20 years now, so it's a huge moment for us in the way that we are ramping up the LEAP, and the Lafayette plant is all about LEAP, so we are in the middle of all these challenges.
Talk about these LEAP engines. People in the aviation business know it very well, but for those who might not be familiar, what's special about these LEAP engines?
The technology behind this, GE has been working on this technology in other engine models like the GNX for the 787. And now we have been applied this with our partners from Safran on the product for the Boeing 737s, for the Airbus 320. So this is a very unique re-engineering structure that we have for this product, for these aircrafts. And this is the most selling product that GE ever had, and that's the ramp up that we are going through right now. Is basically on the fact that we have a technology applied to this engine that will allow less fuel consumption, 15% less fuel consumption, and the noise reduction as well is great. So product is on the right way for the first operations that we have been observing. So that's huge.
You've been on the job now for about a month.
Yes.
Your initial impressions of the Lafayette plant?
State of the art. The plant is, in fact, I knew the plant from before, since we have started. I knew the previous plant leader from other, let's say, projects together with GE. And I know that he and the team, they develop everything that we ever dreamed for a aviation facility. And so we have been using technology to increase not only our capacity, but to reduce mistakes, to improve the productivity of the plant itself, using like digital inspection technologies and barcode processes for all the materials coming in and going through the site, and all the ultrasonic inspections as well. So everything that we have developed within the aviation technologies, we have been applying to this plant.
You're in hiring mode too. Talk about your hiring plans and how you expect to increase production as well as hiring.
Yes, we right now we are with the LEAP challenging us to ramp up till 2020, when we will be producing like close to more, in fact more than 2,000 engines a year. The Lafayette plant will be responsible for half of it, and producing half of it within the next years. And we are hiring for this rate. Our plan is to achieve by the end of 2019 close to 200 people, more 50 to 60 people than we have today.
A lot of attention has been paid to the nonstop flight between Indianapolis and Paris for consumers, but there's a big business impact to GE Aviation from that nonstop flight.
Yes, that's we have worked together with all the government, and everything that came up with this flight was our capacity to send parts and receive parts directly from our partners in Paris, Safran. We send the main portion of the engines that go to Airbus. We sent to this flight to Indianapolis, and this has been huge. Anything that we do like that, GE didn't select Indiana without any other reason, but was really for the willingness to support the companies and create this environment like the flight that was great for us.
Very good. Renato Vidal, the plant leader at GE Aviation here in Lafayette. Thanks for joining us again.
Thank
Welcome
you.
to Indiana.
Thank you, Gary.
All
Thanks.
right. Well, coming up next, you've heard of Silicon Valley and the Research Triangle, but what about Data Decagon? The Wabash Heartland Innovation Network is hoping to coin the term by partnering with 10 counties and making it the global epicenter for digital agriculture and next-generation manufacturing. Agriculture is another important segment of the greater Lafayette economy, from growing food to processing it. Delphi-based Indiana Packers Corporation manufactures and distributes fresh pork, bacon, and processed hams under its Indiana Kitchen brand to more than 25 countries. Also, for more than 150 years, ingredient supplier Tate & Lyle has been helping customers worldwide to make food and beverages healthier and tastier. Well, over the last few decades, the coasts have become known for software, innovation, and technology, while the Midwest has been the powerhouse in manufacturing and agriculture. And that's where the Wabash Heartland Innovation Network comes into play. The new Internet of Things revolution, giving the nearly $40 million initiative an opportunity to flip the script and become the epicenter of next-generation manufacturing and digital agriculture. The organization recently tapped IoT Ag founder Johnny Park to lead WIN. He joins me along with Purdue Center for Regional Development, Community and Regional Development Specialist Melinda Grismer. And welcome both of you to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Johnny, I'll start with you. First of all, why did you take this opportunity? You were a successful entrepreneur with Spencer Technologies, a company that was sold, Purdue faculty member. Why take this role with WIN?
Yeah, I mean, my wife and I came to this region about 20-something years ago, and we just grew to love this place, and we proudly consider Indiana as our home. And at the end of the day, you know, my personal mission is about serving people, and I saw this opportunity is ultimately about serving the people in this region, and nothing can excite me more.
You bring a nice skill set with the entrepreneurial background to the table here. When you talk about WIN, Wabash Heartland Innovation Network, it's a regional network. What's the bottom line? What's it all about?
Yeah. Let me step back a little bit. So we have begun, we're at the beginning of what many people call third wave of internet, right? The first wave was about bringing world online. The second wave was essentially about building apps and services on top of the internet. Now the third wave of internet is as this internet integrates seamlessly and pervasively pretty much every aspect of life. It's just changing how we live, how we interact with each other, how we communicate, how we learn, how we work. So we see a tremendous opportunity here. Mm-hmm. So we want to become the forerunner and the leader of IoT as applied to agriculture and manufacturing. So WIN, Wabash Heartland Innovation Network, is a 10-county consortium in the north central Indiana to really develop this region into the global epicenter of digital agriculture and next generation manufacturing.
And Melinda, I know there was a big survey taken of residents, folks in the region here. Talk about the big takeaways, because I think it really reflects maybe part of that mission at WIN.
Sure. A big part of this grant is region building. And so what we wanted to do from the very beginning was go out into the 10 counties during the county fairs. We thought would be a really good time to launch it in June and July. And we also went online, and we had about 2,500 respondents to that survey. And we were trying to measure vitality, education, and connectivity. And in the vitality area, we really found that placemaking, specifically our parks and trails, are a real pride point for our residents. We want to build on that through this IoT.
So quality of life,
yes,
quality of place
right.
initiative is important.
Choosing place almost before jobs. So, you know, making sure that we invest in that. Two, education, we found out there was a real priority for alignment of workforce and education. So across the region, how we can align those in a more strategic kind of way. And then the third one, which has really led us into our regional cultivation fund and convening, which is coming up next for WIN, is the mandate really that we received. 52% of respondents said that they really thought that community high-speed internet was vitally important to the region. So we've really already kind of begun with that through our broadband task force.
Johnny, what could this lead to in the region?
Yeah, I mean, I could dream a picture of where this region is a place where billions of those sensors are manufactured. I mean, we are betting on technology at Purdue that can potentially revolutionize how sensors are manufactured at a cost of 1/100th of a cent, right? Pretty revolutionary. But not only that, we want to be known as a region where ag producers and manufacturers are fully adopting digital technologies and demonstrably reaping benefits from it, so that other people who are wanting to get into the space will come and learn. And this is a place that's happening about IoT and agriculture manufacturing. So we want to be the forerunner of agriculture and manufacturing as applied to IoT.
How about the buy-in? 10-county area collaboration is key to this. What's the buy-in so far?
I think the buy-in's been great. It was very fun, you know, visiting with residents just on a one-on-one basis. We've done that in many ways with local elected officials and in all kinds of ways. But I think, you know, what's challenging sometimes is for us as counties to lift our heads out of our work, our very important work, to connect with others regionally. So I'm looking forward to giving, you know, that catalyst to the region to be able to do that. So
all right, the
to
Wabash Heartland Innovation Network is rolling. Very important initiative here in the region. Melinda Grismer and Johnny Park, thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, coming up, Lafayette and West Lafayette are business and industry hubs focused on investment, jobs, and quality of place. The mayors of both cities join us to discuss some transformational projects and their vision for the future. Plus, the 450-acre Purdue Discovery Park District is expected to attract more than $1 billion in investment over the next 3 decades. University and foundation leadership explain how it could be a magnet for industry, thought leaders, faculty, staff, and residents, an innovation community of and for the future.
Stand by D1 Sound, sponsored open with music. Stand by camera 3 with Gary. We're out in 5, 4,
3 seconds.
2, dissolve, cue Gary.
There's something for everyone in the downtown's 3 districts: Chauncey Village, Wabash Riverfront, and the Arts and Market. Welcome back to this special edition of Inside Indiana Business of Greater Lafayette Town Hall, powered by Pacer Sports and Entertainment. We're coming to you from the Purdue Rail Yard in West Lafayette, specifically the Purdue Technology Center here at the Purdue Research Park. And you know, downtown development, advanced manufacturing, quality of life issues, whether you are the mayor of Lafayette or West Lafayette, these continue to be top priorities, top of mind initiatives. And both communities are on the move with bold economic development projects like the State Street redevelopment project, Discovery Park District as well. I'm pleased to be joined now by Lafayette Mayor Tony Rozworski and West Lafayette Mayor John Dennis. And mayors, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having us.
Well, I want to talk or start our conversation with the word collaboration, because I think in this day and age, you two represent something that's unique. Two mayors of differing political parties who actually get along together. You've known each other for a long time. But that's translated into some of these economic development projects and the work that we're seeing up here.
Well, it really has. You know, a lot of people can just go online anywhere and see some of the great work that we've done. But I think one of the things that really goes unnoticed is how we've done it, the process that we've gone through. And obviously, Tony and I go back many years. I always tell everybody that the only relationship I've had longer than the one I've had with him is my wife. But we work collaboratively together. We realize that, you know, if we're all pulling on the same side of the rope, it's going to make things go much more smoothly. And this isn't just with development. It's with quality of life issues. It's with law enforcement issues. It's in dealing with, if we're doing a major project in West Lafayette, working with Tony and his administration to work on traffic issues. And probably most importantly, it's sort of setting an example for the rest of the state of Indiana that two mayors with two incredible but unique cities can work collaboratively together to make it one amazing area.
Well, when you look at putting in, as John said, whether it is infrastructure, water, sewer, roads, traffic, quality of life issues, but also how we use our financial resources. We can be good stewards of the taxpayers' money by working together on these projects, planning together, whether it is the riverfront or whether we're looking at where that next road goes, or how we pool those resources for quality of life. That collaboration works in a lot of ways to make us more competitive in a global economy.
You talk about there's so many projects going on, big projects here. One of them that would create somewhat of a joint downtown almost is the riverfront development. Talk about that, and I'll have you both talk about it, but talk about that project.
Well, in Lafayette right now, we spend about $15 million in the last couple of years on downtown development. John has spent a lot working on the State Street, but what holds all of that together is the Wabash River Enhancement Corporation. It's a 501c3 that we both serve on, that's working at taking that urban core of Lafayette and West Lafayette and how we develop amenities. We're right in the middle of building our first riverfront promenade, acquiring land parcels that we need.
Yeah, and Mayor, the real connector there is the State Street. Absolutely. State Street, and there's just a massive project underway there.
Absolutely, it's a $120 million road project, which in these days just sounds incredible. But I think Tony really nails it when he talks about making sure that we remember what our focal points are. When you talk about natural resources, it gets no better than that. When you talk about the development that's come from the State Street project, we've got about $500 million worth of development on the east end of State Street project and another 5+ on the west end with the cooperation with Purdue and Discovery Park. That really makes this a place of choice. It makes it a place where people want to go. And then you put with that the high quality of life that we both share, and then Purdue University. I mean, this is an out of the parker, and it's a no-brainer when it comes to bringing in development.
Some of the issues that many communities face, housing is one. In many communities around the state of Indiana, I know that's a big focus here as well. I just did a housing study.
We really want to look at the whole county. You know, we know what we need to do as far as quality of life, recreation, but a big piece of that also is how are we ensuring that we're building the housing of the future, the neighborhoods of the future that will attract people literally from around the globe, high density, low density, condominiums, homes, different pocket neighborhoods. And so we're doing this study together so we know 10, 15 years down the road what we also need to be doing from a housing standpoint to ensure that we can remain competitive.
What do you see or foresee for your community 20 years out?
More the same. When you have a university like Purdue within your city limits, that sort of really stabilizes a lot of what you do. When you talk about doing the research to make sure that we're doing the right thing with housing, sociologically, housing choices on college students' behalf has changed. They used to want to live in neighborhoods, live in residential areas, to have a dog and tons of roommates and stuff. Now they want to live in sort of high-rise areas. They want to be more densely populated areas. They want to actually be able to walk to where they want to go, where things are happening. Recognizing that is a trend that's going to be coming online in the future. Also, from the Purdue side of the house, making sure that we have complete accessibility with technology.
Give you the last word.
You know, we're looking at quality of life issues with a new baseball stadium, expanding our zoo, our trail systems, but also 10 to 15 years, we're doing, like I said, the housing study and a downtown housing study. We're looking at all of those things so our advanced manufacturing base can continue to grow, our startup, our innovation community can continue to grow, that we're working to create high-paying jobs to give people a high quality of life in our community and look at all the different transportation options that they're going to be looking for in the future and putting the infrastructure in place now to make that happen.
All right, two very busy guys here. Lafayette Mayor Tony Rosworski, also John Dennis, the Mayor of West Lafayette. Thank you both for joining us. We'll talk to you soon.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, you are looking at the Purdue Rail Yard, a cutting-edge co-working space that is part of the largest university-affiliated business incubation network in the world. Just across the Wabash River resides another co-working studio, the Matchbox. An old garage was transformed into Lafayette's first co-working space in 2014. Since then, Matchbox has reached more than 300 members. Well, Purdue and West Lafayette think they know what it takes to keep graduates and faculty to stay and pursue careers or maybe start new businesses. It's called the Discovery Park District, a $1.2 billion, 400-acre project on the west side of campus that will feature everything from research and high-tech manufacturing facilities to housing options, retail, perhaps a convention center, walking trails. It's quite a development. The entrepreneurial ecosystem is under construction and isn't expected to be fully complete until late in the 2030s, but has the potential to be a game changer for this region and for the entire state. And for more, let's turn now to the Executive Vice President for Communications at Purdue University, Dan Hassler, and the Chief Innovation Officer of the Purdue Research Foundation, Dave Brocher. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
As always.
Good to be here.
We talked with President Daniels earlier in the show a bit about this, but Discovery Park. Give us, Dan, the bottom line on this major investment, $1 billion plus. What's it all about?
Well, it's all about creating collisions, right? We pride ourselves in being wildly business friendly in Indiana and business friendly and research friendly here in West Lafayette. And what we've learned over time is we are best at serving those industrial clients when we have close proximity, when we live together. So, you know, David and the crew are all about building a community that represents a collision zone really between industry and academia.
Dave Brocher, your name is well known in the life sciences circles and in innovation around the state of Indiana. Just recently came to Purdue. Talk about what really intrigued you or interested you about this opportunity.
Well, Purdue's one of the top universities in the world, and known for its engineering and science, incubation, startups, commercialization of technology, and I just wanted to be a part of it. Yeah. As you mentioned, life science has sort of been my background, but what's been great about being up here at Purdue is I feel like I'm going back to school again in many respects, learning about all the innovation that takes place here on campus.
When you talk about innovation and tech transfer, talk about the opportunities that you see, and again, with the resources here, physical, and then the talent that is here, what the opportunities are.
Well, when I was outside Purdue at the IBRI and starting companies and things like that, under the leadership of President Daniels and Dan and Brian Edelman and Greg Deason and the group here, I always found that Purdue, you were always able to hit the easy button to get things done. And I think that legacy is going to continue as we move forward. We're doing, the definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing and expect different results. We want to continue to progress. We want to continue to develop and accelerate the pace of innovation here in the greater West Lafayette area.
Talk a little bit more about how you see this evolution as part of a really large R&D and innovation center.
Well, so we've made it about as easy as it can possibly be working with a public institution to engage and to get access to the intellectual property. Now it's about supporting those collisions, as I said before. Most of these good ideas here and around the world happen when people come in contact with each other. Mm-hmm. We have this wonderful luxury in Indiana of being able to spread out if we want to. Well, like a gas, when you spread out, you cool down. By creating an event, creating a spot like this where people will want to become dense, will want to be with other people, will want to interact and scrum, we expect that's going to create light. And it's going to cause people to see the IP that we're developing much more quickly and to get it where it belongs, and that's in somebody's working lab and in the marketplace.
The Convergence Center is going to be a very high profile, kind of a gateway to the project.
We really want that to be the front door, the business front door for the university. I'd like to say, if you're here for a basketball game, you know where to go. If you're a senior in high school, you know where to go to evaluate Purdue as a university or a college for you. If you're a business or a company or a venture capitalist, where do you go? You don't always know where to go. So we want to create the front door to this district, all the things that Dan mentioned. So we're planning to co-locate probably in about 30% of this building, all the Purdue functions that engage externally with companies and investors. investors and people innovators, and then the rest of the building would be curated by companies.
Dan Hassler, Dave Broker, thanks very much for joining us. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right. Well, stick around as we dive into a special Insiders panel with a live studio audience. We'll weigh in on what's fueling growth in Greater Lafayette and what challenges the region is facing as well. Well, it's hard to miss the iconic black and orange stripes of the XXX restaurant when you drive through West Lafayette. Since 1929, the landmark eatery has sat on a hill in Chauncey Village, serving up burgers, huge breakfasts, and homemade root beer, and a lot more. And close by, another famous spot near Purdue's campus is Harry's Chocolate Shop. Opened as a family business in 1919, this landmark bar has been a Purdue tradition for more than 80 years at the same corner. Welcome back to this special edition of Inside Indiana Business, a Greater Lafayette Town Hall powered by Pacer Sports and Entertainment. You know, much of the economy of Lafayette and West Lafayette and this region is centered around Purdue University, but there is a beehive of activity fueled by the private sector as well. From advanced manufacturers, major economic development projects, entrepreneurship, and innovation initiatives. We've gathered a group of community leaders for our Insiders panels this week to weigh in on some of the hot issues facing the region. And I'm pleased to be joined by Matchbox manager Amanda Findley, also the former Wabash National CEO Dick Geromini, and Nutramaze co-founder and CEO Evan Rochford. And welcome one and all to the Insiders. Great to see you all. Dick, I'm going to start with you as we talk about challenges for the region. A lot going on here, obviously, with so many transformative projects. But as you look at challenges the region faces, what would you identify?
Well, some of the biggest challenges, most significant ones that manufacturers in the area face, and all industry in particular, are a skills gap and an overall labor shortage. With the economy booming as it has been for the past few years, especially in this last year or so, we're finding it more and more difficult to find the kind of talent that you need to deal with the type of technology that we all have to deal with today in the manufacturing sector. And then there's just a shortage overall of people just to fill any type of job.
What has the Matchbox done to help diversify the economy?
Yeah, I think we've given a place to people who can work from anywhere from that Matchbox space. Dick talked a little bit about filling this skills gap, but we also want to create a community where people want to live and make sure Lafayette remains a community where people want to live. And I think Matchbox contributes to that a little bit too. So you can have traditional employees working alongside freelancers, and people are working for organizations all around the country and around the world from Matchbox and from Greater Lafayette, but we're also hoping to contribute to that downtown landscape too. So having a vibrant and relevant and cool Main Street.
Evan, your company, it's Nutramaze, right? Fascinating company, and you even brought a prop. So tell us about Nutramaze, because I think the innovation, the technology that started it all came out of Purdue University, right?
That's right, yeah. So our technology is a more nutritious, better tasting variety of non-GMO corn, which has this beautiful orange color. And so it was a Purdue technology. It was developed for humanitarian purposes. And what's kind of cool about that is, most of the time people think about things that are developed to help the developing world, just helping the developing world. But now we're getting to bring that back and commercialize that here in the United States and potentially provide some health benefits to Americans and capitalize on all those millions of dollars that were spent on the basic research and on the international work.
Lafayette, West Lafayette as a place to grow this business. How would you rank it? How would you rate it?
I think that Lafayette is a great place to have a business, to grow a business. I think that starting a business, no matter where you are, is a difficult thing to do. And in Lafayette, there's two really big things that come to mind for me, which is the sense of community and the sense of camaraderie. And maybe in some larger ecosystems, it might be a little bit more competitive, a little bit more cutthroat. Here, people really aren't stepping over each other to get ahead. They're really working together and helping promote each other. There's much more of the rising tide lifts all boats mentality.
the word collaboration, cooperation keeps coming up throughout the broadcast, and in particular with this Wabash Heartland Innovation Network, which is a big initiative. Dick, as you see the potential there, what do you see? 10-county area focused on creating really a hub for advanced manufacturing and digital agriculture, right?
It's all revolving around innovation, or Internet of Things, being able to take that technology, the sensor technology, the ability to capture, collect data, analyze data, and be able to reduce variability, improve quality, improve output, increase uptime, decrease downtime. All those things can help businesses prosper, and that can happen not only in the manufacturing sector, in the advanced manufacturing side, but also with precision or digital agriculture. And it's an exciting opportunity for our whole 10-county region.
Yeah, well, as you look at the opportunities and some of the big transformative projects going on here, as you think about 5, 10, 15 years down the road, what's going to be key, Amanda, in your view, in these things happening and really the full potential being realized in the region?
I think making sure our community stays relevant and that we're fostering opportunities for young people who are committed to the greater Lafayette community to come up in leadership roles. I think that'll keep us vibrant and relevant in that capacity. We have great leadership in this community, setting a great example for up-and-coming leaders. I think that's pretty vital.
Evan, what's your take?
Downtown Lafayette has so much character and so much potential, and I think that bringing the two communities together, bridging that gap between Chauncey and downtown, the efforts are underway. I think that's going to be really critical to kind of filling in that gap, that time of life where maybe people want to choose to live somewhere else.
Yeah, but 30 seconds, Dick. Your take on what's needed to make this all happen.
Well, I think the ingredients are there. All of the initiatives that we heard earlier today from the mayors and Discovery Park and all those great things, and Evan made it very, very clearly about what this community is all about. It's very unique. Someone who did not grow up here and came here 16 years ago, I was so impressed with the friendliness of this community, the welcoming attitude and environment that you come into, the collaborative nature of everyone, no matter what side of the aisle they're on. People work together to move the ball down the field and to get it across the finish line, and that makes it very special. And having had, my 42-year career, I'd lived in a number of states, and this by far sets a standard for that collaborative way of getting things done.
Very good. Thanks for some great perspectives on Insiders Panel number 1, Dick Geremini, Amanda Findley, and also Evan Rochford. Thanks very much. And we'll be right back with a new group of insiders joining us to talk about really a huge milestone that Purdue is just beginning to celebrate, 150 years. We'll look at what's fueling innovation and entrepreneurship at Purdue and the school's role in economic development in the region and the state, and really the impact around the globe. Stay with us.
You're looking at Purdue's $65 million football performance complex. The 3-story, 112,000 square foot state-of-the-art facility opened last fall. And athletic director Mike Babinski tells me for Purdue, the upgrade was long overdue.
As we looked around at the people that we compete with, we said, you know what, we're not in the game. So it was really time for us to build something that made a statement, first and foremost, that we were serious about being competitive, but secondarily was just a whole lot more efficient. Now we've got training room, coaches' offices, meeting rooms, all in the exact same facility.
It's a huge recruitment tool, and it is something that can help us get over the hump and make some progress. Truly, in my opinion, one of the best facilities in the country, and it's a big advantage.
Prior to last year's bowl victory, this Purdue program had only tasted the postseason twice since 2007. So it appears, at least early on, that investing in its football performance complex has already started paying dividends on the long-term success of Purdue football. Gary?
And welcome back to this special edition, a Greater Lafayette Town Hall, coming to you this week from the Purdue Rail Yard at the Purdue Research Park in West Lafayette. Well, 2019 will mark Purdue University's 150th anniversary, a time to look back at the school's great accomplishments in research, teaching, engagement, but also to look to the future. How can Boilermakers help tackle some of the world's most pressing challenges and opportunities? We've assembled a special insiders panel to help answer some of those questions. And we are pleased to be joined by the Purdue Research Foundation Vice President in the Office of Technology Commercialization, Brooke Beyer. Also, Purdue Research Foundation Senior Vice President Greg Deason, and Purdue Provost and Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs, and diversity, Jay Ackridge. And welcome one and all to this edition of The Insiders. Jay, I'll start with you, the 150 years. Obviously a significant milestone. As Purdue embarks on celebrating and marking this milestone, what can we expect?
Yeah, we were excited to kick this off with homecoming. The theme for our year is Giant Leaps. So we'll be celebrating the 150th anniversary until next homecoming. Really 4 broad areas we're looking at through something we're calling the Ideas Festival. So artificial intelligence, what's in the store for us as we look to the future in that area, health and longevity, sustainability, and space.
Jay, an area you know very well is agriculture. There's seems to be so much momentum in the food and ag innovation space, and Purdue obviously is right in the heart of that.
Absolutely, and Indiana's in the heart of that. And the university's made major commitments in the whole area of plant sciences, and new faculty, new facilities, and really building up our capacity there. And we're seeing real output now from that investment in the form of new startup ventures.
Brooke, in terms of commercialization, a lot happening on that front here at Purdue and around the state. Talk, if you will, about some of the various deals that have happened, especially in the life sciences here over the past number of months.
Absolutely. Purdue's made a huge initiative in life sciences recently. I think a couple years ago they announced they were going to invest $250 million into life sciences, and we've really seen that kind of cultivate over the last couple of years. A deal we're very excited about that happened this summer was Purdue spin-out Prosolia. Got acquired by a large mass spec manufacturer called Waters, and that is just a great success story of Purdue technology going to the hands of a large company.
In terms of commercialization and the opportunities that you see, in particular, because people think of Purdue as an engineering school, and obviously it is, but in the life sciences, there's real opportunity there.
Absolutely. We have about 350 some disclosures a year coming in from our faculty, and 40% of those are coming from life science initiatives. Wow. So even though we are thought of as an engineering school, there's a big push in the life sciences as well.
Startups, Greg, huge impact, and they continue to grow, averaging almost 25 a year now. And and the connection that Purdue has extends throughout the state. We were recently at Crane in southern Indiana. What an amazing place that is. There's impact from Purdue there as well.
Seeing more than 200 new startups in our ecosystem is going to have vast impacts on the future. And I'm glad you mentioned Crane. The Crane Naval Surface Warfare Center is such an important asset in Indiana, and we've extended what we've learned to do here in West Lafayette down to Crane. And happy to report there have already been 10 startups down in that location. 5 of them are advancing Crane technologies.
Got a great studio audience here. We do have a question. Sir, if you just state your name and who you're with and fire away.
Moses from West Lafayette. We hear about East Coast, West Coast. How does what's happening here in this ecosystem and what you're hearing change the community's outlook in terms of what we're hearing and how we stand out amongst all the other options that companies that might move here have?
If you think about what really is the foundation for an entrepreneurial ecosystem, it's a major research university, and this place, Purdue, has top programs globally in science, engineering, and agriculture that provide so much of the human talent, the pipeline of new intellectual property. And when you combine that with the kind of leadership we've got both at the university and the community that's focused on quality of place, I think this area, this region has tremendous momentum compared to any place in the country right now.
Well, what's fueling, Brooke, the startups averaging 25, almost 25 a year, up from I think maybe 8 or 9 previously? What's causing that big increase, do you think?
I think the big shift happened about 5 years ago when President Daniels joined and made the mission really to get technology out to marketplace and not to focus on royalties and license income up front, but make sure we're doing our land grant mission to get these technologies out there. So with the faculty, we've made it very easy for them to license their own innovation, to form the startup. We put in place programs such as the Foundry, which Greg can talk about, to really support that entrepreneurship and help coach students and faculty.
Yeah, Greg, tell us about the Foundry. That's another asset here at Purdue.
Well, and we did make a deliberate decision. We wanted to take the ideas that are here and create impact. And one of the ways we chose to do that was to reallocate some of the resources that were coaching businesses to really provide those entrepreneurs with the best approaches to their idea to figure out if there's really a market for that. That's made a huge impact.
Now we have another question from the audience, sir.
Hi, Gary. Tony Denhart with GE. You know, Paul just mentioned, you know, looking at this area in the state of Indiana and, you know, kind of the light flashing on the great things that are going on. What are we doing, or what do we need to do to really help tell that story, to let everyone know about all the great things going on in the community?
You know, I think the 150th anniversary celebration, Giant Leaps, is absolutely intended to raise the awareness and visibility of this place as we look forward. It's a future-focused effort. It's intended to showcase the kinds of people and ideas and again, you know, innovations, creations that are happening here, and celebrate the talent, and also bring people to this community to engage in dialogue about these issues, so that, again, world leaders are going to experience some of the things happen in this community, so when they go back, they're going to understand more about all the things that are happening here at Purdue.
You know, you talk about the assets here, Greg, the Purdue Research Park. Talk about the profile here. How many companies, how many people work here? I mean, this is almost a city within itself.
Yeah, right here in West Lafayette, more than 200 companies call this home. That literally puts, you know, 3,800 or so employees here. And one of the things that's great about that, though, is these are high-quality jobs. These are averaging $80,000 per job. And so when you kind of compare that to the questions that have just been asked, this is a great place for you to live, to work, to play, and also to learn.
Jay Ackridge, also Brooke Beyer, and Greg Deason. Thank you one and all for being on The Insiders. And I'll be right back after this. Stay with us. And before we wrap up this special edition of our show, we want to give a special thank you to the Rail Yard and the Purdue Research Park for their warm hospitality and sharing this incredible space with us for this special show. As always, a big thank you as well to our friends and colleagues at WFYI for another first-class production, and to our presenting sponsor of our on-the-road broadcast, Pacer Sports and Entertainment. Thank you for joining us. I'm Gary Dick. Go out and make it a successful week.
Inside Indiana Business with Gary Dick is a production of Grow Indiana Media Ventures with support from WFYI Productions.